Hello, and thanks for choosing Conservative Stream as your source for political talk radio. Please help us reach our goal of $500 this month by clicking on the donate button on the website. Thank you for your support. Enjoy the podcast.
The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, author of A Savage Life, Michael Savage.
Dr. Savage has a day off. My name is Dom Giordano, and boy, from Philadelphia, sitting in for Dr. Michael again. What a day to be sitting. I mean, just in the last 10 minutes, I'm all prepared to say Democrats must be using Common Core math and abacus or some kind of backward calculator. Even that, at 5 o'clock, they're going to give us the results in Iowa. Here's a group up and down the line that wants to run the vast federal government, 320 million people, with their health care schemes, their plans on what you're going to eat, what you're going to do, and they can't count. And there's not as many of them, really. The enthusiasm factor wasn't up at all. So here's what's been breaking. And if this happens, boy, Donald Trump is born under a lucky star with the people that he's running against. Joe Biden's people, and I'll play you a cut of his spokesperson earlier today. He says he has problems with the integrity of the process. This guy is so lucky this is all screwed up. He got tanked yesterday, I believe. His spokesperson says they're looking potentially to file an injunction to stop the release of the even the partial results at 5 o'clock. How much time do these people need? So that's one. If he does that and a judge rules that, yes, we have to go through some process before you can release this stuff. My goodness. Just like the Des Moines Register poll that I believe clearly showed Bernie Sanders running away with the Iowa caucuses had to be spiked. Here's the other bombshell, if you will. Daily Caller. Who is behind this app that these people were relying on in order to expedite the vote? Well, 3 of them are Clinton campaign veterans. 3 of them were involved in the, I usually say incompetency. Maybe a bit of conspiracy mixed in, but it's incompetency big time, I think, in addition to that. The Huffington Post, citing multiple Democrat sources and campaign finance records, reported amid the caucus chaos late Monday that Shadow Incorporated is behind the app, an acronym a Democrat-linked technology and campaign consulting nonprofit group owns. Shadow Incorporated. The CEO of Shadow Inc. is Gerard Niemeyer, director of product on the Clinton campaign. Ana Rayo, the product manager for Shadow Incorporated, was special assistant chief technology officer on the Clinton campaign. And Krista Davis was the chief technology officer at Shadow, was a software engineer on the Clinton campaign. Hillary Clinton, that is. The former campaign manager for the Clintons has denied any involvement here. Now, you know the hatred of Bernie Sanders. Let me make this point again and again during the show. Bernie is, on some issues, further along to the left. It's hard to get to the left of him than some of these Democrats, but some of them are almost right there. The difference is he's blatant about it. To win anything, they have to masquerade. They have to hide. So in addition to he's a curmudgeon, in addition to he really blows the whole scheme for them by being so blatant. He makes people look at what they're doing. He forced Elizabeth Warren. I can't emphasize this enough. They were at her constantly for once in the media. Or are you going to do Medicare for all? Are you doing complete government health care? She didn't want to talk about that. She's too busy, and we'll get to that, wanting to attack the rich, even though she's worth estimated around 13 to 15 million. That's a major reason why they don't like Bernie. In addition to they think he's a loser. Those are all the reasons, but one of them is they have to hide all this stuff. They have to couch it. He doesn't do couching. He has authentic in his craziness. All right, so that's where we are at this point. Now, a couple of other developments. Let me play. Here's Vice President Biden's spokesperson earlier this morning saying it's an outrage challenging the Iowa results about the integrity of the process.
We have real concerns about the integrity of the process. And I think there were some significant failures in the process last night that should give voters concern. You know, you obviously had the app failure. The app that precinct captains were using to report in their results failed. You had the phone system where, you know, precinct captains there were reports of them getting frustrated, not being able to report out their results, hanging up. And then you have the presidential preference cards, which are essentially the paper trail for the app, which we already know failed. So I think taken together, those are significant concerns. I think they should raise concerns for voters. And, you know, election integrity is obviously of the utmost importance. And so we really want to make sure that the Iowa Democratic Party addresses this before they put out official data.
Boy, you got to say, Joe is living under a lucky cloud. How is this guy addled and going crazy at stop after stop, even anywhere in this? Well, because of this, they're all going to say, heck, here on the Michael Savage Show, I might declare maybe I won the Iowa caucus. Maybe you did. Maybe some caller today, some listener. Who knows? Anything's possible. That's what we're going to hear. It muddies up the waters. I do think Mayor Pete did rather well. I still think Bernie Sanders, though, was the winner. And Joe Biden, I think, was almost disastrous for him, if not disastrous. So, of course, he's going to huff and puff. And is he going to really injunct that today? This would throw this in wildly. Now, they have not blamed the Russians fully yet, but that's coming. You know, maybe the Russians had something to do with this. Where was Trump when all this was going on? I'll tell you the one that I'm looking for. And you're a winner if you've seen it. Climate. What does climate have to do with this? Is there any way, shape, or form that our disaster has ravaged Iowa and that threw off the app, threw off the coding, threw off their map? They couldn't think it was so hot or cold or messed up. Now, while all this is happening, this is making a good bit of news. And full disclosure, I'm very friendly with Rand Paul, like a lot of stuff that he does. At times, he frustrates me. He goes too far. But Rand Paul this afternoon read the name of the alleged whistleblower with a big sign next to him, emblazoned on it the name of the alleged whistleblower. Now, you may remember last week, Justice Roberts would not allow Rand Paul to ask about the whistleblower. He read the name of the alleged whistleblower during his statement today about the impeachment, about the trial. Now, you have people going wild on Twitter saying Rand Paul for this ought to be kicked out of the Senate. He is going to get physical harm to all kinds of whistleblowers. So you would think Rand Paul would be sympathetic to a legitimate whistleblower. I haven't had him on to talk about this, but what I think he's signaling is this isn't a whistleblower as much as it's the deep state, in his view, that is trying to commit a coup, a slow coup, or tried to commit a coup along with others against the President of the United States. Now, we were told that the whistleblower, we have to hear the whistleblower. You got to hear what the whistleblower has to say. This whistleblower is right there on the inside. He heard everything. The whistleblower can tell us all. And then, of course, we moved away from it. So I'm glad that Rand Paul did this. The media is appalled. They're calling this just a stunt. Everything's a stunt. But Adam Schiff is not a continuous stunt. Let me play you Adam Schiff here, since his name came up, and I don't want to forget this. I had a lot of fun with it on my show on Talk Radio 1210 in Philadelphia today. Adam Schiff, making his closing argument yesterday, yes, today is the last day, made this point: if Trump is allowed to get away with this, if he's acquitted, which he will be, he will sell Alaska to Russia.
If abuse of power is not impeachable, even though it is clear the founders considered it the highest of all high crimes and misdemeanors, but if it were not impeachable, then a whole range of utterly unacceptable conduct in a president would now be beyond reach. Trump could offer Alaska to the Russians in exchange for support in the next election, or decide to move to Mar-a-Lago permanently and let Jared Kushner run the country, delegating to him the decision whether to go to war. Because those things are not necessarily criminal, this argument would allow that he could not be impeached for such abuses of power. Of course, this would be absurd. More than absurd, it would be dangerous.
dangerous. It's beyond belief. Notice what he did there, too, at the beginning. Notice the construction, the shift man. He thought long and hard about that one. Not only is Trump giving them Alaska, right? We always knew he would do that if he got the chance. He's doing it so they push him over the line in the 2020 election. Aha. And then, after all that work, Trump gets tired of this. He just wants to stay in Mar-a-Lago and hit the golf ball around all day with the title of president. Jared Kushner's going to war as Trump's out there in a golf cart. Just, it takes your breath away. Obviously, I asked people in Philadelphia, well, what state would you like to? You can imagine it was the left coast wonder that was the state that people would like to get rid of. All right, so I'd love to get you on board. We're waiting to see if Biden files this injunction. I hope he does sometime during the Michael Savage show here at the Savage Nation. It will be amazing. All right, so it's 855-400-7282. 855-400-SAVAGE is the way that you get on board. Here with Dom Giordano, sending in for Dr. Michael Savage. He'll be back tomorrow. God knows. Tomorrow when he comes back, you have the State of the Union tonight. I'll talk about that. The media trying to edge Trump on to doing the wrong thing tonight. I'll tell you what I believe he's going to do and what he should do. And it doesn't include turning around and mocking Nancy Pelosi or anything else. Keep your eye on the prize. But just in the last half hour or so, we have this news of where this app came from. That is rather suspicious if you're a Bernie person. I mean, the Bernie Sanders people this time are not going to put up with it and fall in line. They're going to fight back. This is going to go on through the convention. And guess who is just about 2 blocks away from me in a couple of hours? Michael Bloomberg. Yep, the guy that everybody's pointing to today. He's going to be at the Constitution Center in downtown Philadelphia. I got a lot to say about him. He is the one that's a real test of America. Could people really vote for a guy who wants to tell you can't have a big gulp? I know about guns, and I know about taking away guns, and that gets people fired up. How about the big gulp, though? All right, my name is Dom Giordano again. Thrilled to be sitting in for Michael Savage here on the Savage Nation. He'll be back tomorrow. Follow him on Twitter at @ASavageNation, at @ASavageNation. And the phone lines are 855-400-7282. Love to hear from you here on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Welcome into the Savage Nation. My name is Dom Giordano in Philadelphia, pinch hitting for Dr. Savage today. And while all this is going on, I mentioned right down the road from me, I almost can see through my window the Constitution Center, a little bit of a building block. In about 2 hours, 2.5 hours or so, Michael Bloomberg will be here in Philadelphia at the Constitution Center. Strange place for him to be speaking. Now, there's no word yet. I have my people looking to see if he'll be, at least with the subterfuge of speaking there, given his background, will he be standing on boxes? Will there be a little hydraulic lift that is gold-plated? While this is going on, Bloomberg suddenly, because people are aware what these the caucuses mean to Joe Biden. Ultimately, he's going to be out of here. So they're looking toward Bloomberg. And this plays into conspiracy. Again, you got the Clinton people trying to stop Bernie. You have Bloomberg, the polar opposite of what Bernie's doing. Even though they're both wanting to control your life, Bloomberg is even more granular. So here is the Bernie Sanders surrogate, Nina Turner, on MSNBC, duking it out with the Bloomberg guy and calling him an oligarch.
You know, it's just ironic to me that somebody would defend the wealthiest people in this country over the working people of this country. We need real campaign finance reform to the extent that a Mayor Bloomberg can totally finance his campaign. He doesn't have to go out to the people. He doesn't have to build a movement. He doesn't have to talk to people. He can buy his way. It is the same attitude that the elites, maybe Jason likes the word elite over oligarch, but it's the same attitude that the elites had in 1930 against FDR. All of them lined up against him, and he said, I welcome your hatred, because he was standing up for the people. And that is the same message that Senator Bernie Sanders has to the everyday people of this nation, that I welcome the hatred of the elites because I am standing up for you. So cry me a river for the wealthy people in this country.
All right, then. So now you throw the Hillary card into the conspiracy, right? With the people that are involved here with this app. Then you have any number of pundits and others that are just going after Sanders because they know he can't win. Then you throw in Bloomberg out there and the direct contrast with Sanders buying his way, is the allegation, into the next debate. You put it all together, and the Bernie Sanders people are not going to roll over this time. I mean, this spells really outright civil war now. And then you have all these other factions, Warren and Biden, and they stay in now because this will be a disputed result, however it comes down at 5 o'clock. And get this, they're not even releasing at 5 o'clock the full results. These are partial results. Just think of what that does, how that's the headline. I still vote more incompetency. This is what you get with these government types running anything. This is exactly what you get, more than conspiracy. But guess what? I'm not Bernie Sanders and his people. They're looking at this as direct conspiracy, or at least they're going to make the case on that. And as we head into New Hampshire, he's going to do even better. And then what do they do to stop him? Michael Bloomberg. All right, coming up, I'll break down a little bit of Michael Bloomberg because I'm not sure outside New York City. I know you vaguely may know about him, how far this goes, and I know about gun grabbers.
Now back to Michael Savage on Talk Radio 560 KSFO.
Hey, welcome into the Savage Nation. My name is Dom Giordano in Philadelphia, sitting in for Dr. Savage today. I'll be back tomorrow. So this just came down that the people behind, it's now verified, the people that created this app that are behind it, Shadow Inc. And these people include at least 3 people that were on Hillary's campaign at some level of seniority when it comes to software and internet and that kind of stuff. They are campaign and technology veterans who have built and implemented technology at Hillary for America, Obama for America, Google, Apple, the AFL-CIO, and the DNC. Their mantra is, our passion is to create a permanent advantage for progressive campaigns and causes through technology. Here's what they just tweeted out. Well, they tweeted out a little while ago, to be fair. We sincerely regret the delay in the reporting of the results of last night's Iowa caucuses and the uncertainty it has caused to the candidates or campaigns and Democratic caucus goers. So the allegation out there among the Bernie people is establishment, the Democrat establishment. And as I said, they don't like Bernie personally. They don't like, they think he can't win. But also, a lot of them are pretty close to a lot of the stuff that he says. Elizabeth Warren came very close. Yet they want to masquerade. They don't want to pretend they're full-bore socialists. He's a communist, so I guess he's masquerading a bit, I think. But they don't want to go there with that. They know they can't win elections like that. And that's why he calls attention to it. And as long as he's out there and he's the one that's seen as authentic, that's got the passion going for him. I mean, case in point, Mayor Pete wants to masquerade as a moderate. In what universe is this guy a moderate? Now, on paper, alongside Bernie Sanders, maybe he sounds like it, but he is not a moderate in any way, shape, or form, and he comes pretty close to Bernie on any number of issues. He's not a moderate. He's far left, radical position, but Bernie Sanders is just out there farther. That's all it is. All right, so what's the remedy to all this? I still believe, last time I sat in for Dr. Savage, I say it every place I still believe Hillary Clinton's waiting to get in, will get in some point if Joe Biden gets dumped, say, after South Carolina, where he is fading, shockingly. Who inherits that lane? Well, you have Mayor Pete, even though, as I said, he's not a moderate. And now you have Bloomberg. So Michael Bloomberg's a couple of blocks away from me tonight. This guy is the all-time authoritarian. You talk about petty tyranny. Tyranny involving big gulps and just about any aspect of this. Now, I'm thinking about him because I'm looking at a story out today about what's going on in the UK. And the UK is ahead of us when it comes to this intrusion. And if Bloomberg were president, he'd catch us up pretty quickly. They're operating because of childhood obesity in the UK, United Kingdom. The chief medical officer, Sally Davis, says that what we need to do is the government should prohibit eating and drinking on urban public transport, except for fresh water, breastfeeding, and medical conditions. In other words, they're saying that kids seeing adults snacking, eating a hoagie or half of a hoagie or a bunch of crackers or whatever on the go, we have to stop that. You shouldn't be able to do that when you're on a bus, the underground there, that kind of thing. Think about this, how far they're willing to go. Now, they have a nationwide tax on sugary drinks, a big one. They ban junk food advertising all over the place. They're putting higher taxes on milkshakes, a ban on energy drink purchases by children, and they're going to make Britain smoke-free by 2030. What I'm suggesting to you is what Bloomberg wants to do, what he started doing, is something that will catch us up to this kind of spirit. And to me, we all know about people in the Second Amendment. We all know about protections there. We all know about the dangers of that with any number of these Democrats. But this guy is amazing. Michelle Malkin, writing at michellemalkin.com, writes, this is an older article about him, says he's Chauncey Gardner. Remember Chauncey Gardner? The being there guy, the guy that just says phrases that makes no sense, but he gets elected to office. He's Chauncey Gardner with a mega bank account, an insatiable appetite for using his money and power to tell his fellow human beings what's best for them. He wants government to interfere in every aspect of our lives while abandoning its core function, protecting our borders and controlling who gets in, who stays in, and who should be kicked out. That's exactly right. And he will grab your guns, too, of course. I mean, that's a major deal with him. But would America really, couldn't a Trump make the case with this guy? Do you really want a guy that's going to tell you down to the level of the quantity of what you can drink? Remember the big gulp thing with him? Well, the New Yorker does. I'm reading out a piece, the time when he started to ban the big gulp, who says, in praise of Nanny Bloomberg. They call him Nanny Bloomberg, and they say that, you know what? Listen to the pseudoscience of this. Human beings like you and me are going to eat whatever is in front of us. In other words, our mind, they cite some scientific stuff here. If the portions are bigger, our mind is going to think that's a new normal, and we're just going to go forward with that. So if we don't have someone like Bloomberg, not controlling just the sugary drink, not just the actual food, but the size of the plate and things of that nature, portion sizes, then my God, they salute him for pushing back against this. And it's scientific. You mean to say America's going to come to a point? There's a lot of people out there that don't follow talk radio, the news like you do. They may know about guns. They may hear that. God only knows, based upon the media, how they feel. But if you prove to them, this guy says you're adult, you can't handle food, you can't make good decisions. And they, people that have chronicled him said, you talk about do as I say and not as I doism. He crusades for public transportation from the back seat of a plush SUV. He battles against climate change while flying to Switzerland and Paris in private jets. He rails against junk food for everyone else while scarfing down Cheez-Its during media interviews about his trans fat ban. Right? And he's spending big, huge stuff that we've never seen before. Is that going to fly to get the nomination? And if it does, you mean to say this guy can win? That America's reached a point where they're going to let some ministry of food tell them what to eat, how to eat it, when to eat it. Have we come to that? This would be a real good test if it's Bloomberg. All right, phone lines to get in are 855-400-7282. 855-400-7282. We'll get you on board here with Dom Giordano sitting in for Dr. Michael Savage. By the way, check out michaelsavage.com for the latest headlines and to download the Savage podcast. And follow him on Twitter at @ASavageNation, at @ASavageNation. So Bloomberg now has got this strategy. That's why he's in my neck of the woods, Philadelphia, tonight. He's going to skip over these states. That's for the peons. He's going to buy his way into the next debate he has. And now he's working places like Pennsylvania way ahead of the curve. I mean, we never have anybody go through here. Usually, by that point, it's almost all over. It's rare that we have a big-time thing. This time we are. And he's here spending money well ahead of that. California. I mean, he's putting in incredible numbers of staffers. It's not just the TV ads. It's the infrastructure around this. I could see him spending a couple $1 billion before this is over or more. To do what? To tell you can't have a big gulp. He knows best. It's the science. He'll determine that. That's why he wants power. That's what he wants to do. All right, while all this is going on, The Hill has a summation, and their headline tells you it all. They're the Inside Washington group. Trump set to confront his impeachment foes. Now, that's not what the White House is saying. The release I got today said the president you're going to see tonight is someone who is going to be relentlessly talking about American optimism. Think Ronald Reagan. All right? That's going to be Trump tonight, touting the successes he's had so far and asking people for another term to push those successes forward. I don't think President Trump ought to confront his impeachment foes. They're trying to egg Trump on, in other words. All these articles, all these pundits now are trying to get him to do that. Here's why it's important. Keep your eye on the prize. Now, we know there's going to be acquittal tomorrow. But in addition to that, what the prize is now, 2 or 3 Democrat senators, if they vote to acquit President Trump, meaning not to remove him from office, then this becomes somewhat bipartisan. I don't think you can get beyond 3. There might be 2 or 3. If you tonight push back, get into it, growl at Nancy Pelosi, as tough as it is to look at Nancy Pelosi and the annex and the shenanigans, suck it up. Tomorrow, you win. You get 2 or 3 Democrats to go along with this because they're in states that they're in trouble if they don't. Manchin, the woman in Arizona, that kind of thing. There might be a 3rd. And then the victory lap is tomorrow around 5 o'clock or whenever the final vote is. They come back at 4 tomorrow, whenever that final vote is, whenever they finally give it up and vote. That's when you start tweeting, maybe even do a news conference, whatever you want. Tonight, rise above that, laser focus, stare them down, look them in the eye and talk about what you've done for America versus those who would put roadblocks in there. You can do that. But let's not get into any showdown on impeachment in this. I know after being bottled up all this time, it's got to be tempting. The win is tomorrow to get acquittal with a couple of Democrats. If that happens politically, you're golden. That's exactly what the prize is. Tomorrow during the Michael Savage show, toward the end of the show maybe even, you'll have that big vote. Might have it by 5 o'clock Eastern time. And if it happens, that would be great to see 2 or 3 Democrats say, yeah, we don't see anything here impeachable or removable from office. No, we're not going to do that. I don't think it could possibly be more of that given the parties and everything else. I don't think even Mitt Romney is going to vote to remove the president. Murkowski said she's not either. I don't think Collins is. That's the prize. And tonight is a great opportunity to let the American people know again all the things that have happened during these years, despite just unremitting, and it will continue. They don't know how to do anything else. Salvos from the Democrats. If President Trump does that tonight, it is a home run. By the way, Gallup poll has Trump at 49% job approval. That's higher than President Obama got. Think about that tonight. Be optimistic, as the White House release said, relentlessly optimistic. Americans like that. It's a good time to be optimistic. All right, I'd love to get you on board. Tell me if you want fireworks tonight. I know people always want that. I want to win. It's about the prize. It's about tomorrow. 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-SAVAGE. Get you in on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now. 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Savage Nation, welcome in. Dom Giordano pinch hitting for Michael Savage. He'll be back tomorrow. That's Dom, D-O-M, Giordano, Giordano. The Reverend Al Sharpton tells us that Trump is going to overplay it tonight. If you're watching the State of the Union, Trump is going to come across as delusional. Here's the Rev.
I think that he is absolutely going to say the State of the Union is strong because he sees himself as the Union. He's fine. He's not going to be convicted. His friends have made a lot of money off the tax cut. The fact that we're now moving toward $1 trillion deficit, all of that means nothing to him. The narrow view, the narrow world view Donald Trump has, he feels we're doing fine.
All right, there's a little bit more, but you notice what the Reverend said there. Suddenly, deficits. Oh, deficits bother him. Did the deficit bother him? Oh, I don't know, in any progressive administration like President Obama? But maybe we'll learn a little bit more here. Here's the Reverend.
And I think he's not only going to say it, he's going to overstate it on Tuesday night to the point where a lot of people watching is going to think that he's delusional because he doesn't know how to just say things reasonably. He's going to overplay it to where even some people that lean his way are going to say, wait a minute, we're not doing that great. He's going to really play that card because that's who Donald Trump is.
Somebody who's going to overplay it. Somebody's going to hype something. The Reverend wouldn't know anything about any of those problems, would he? Look, optimism tonight, the White House leading with that. Accomplishments. Now we have some tremendous accomplishments to talk about. That could take hours. You don't need that. You can encapsulate them. He's not going to overstate anything. We are doing fine. Do not take the bait. Do not go after the other side on impeachment. Don't get involved in that. Not necessary. Stick to all the accomplishments. Radiate optimism, belief in America. America is great. These accomplishments have helped make it great again. We're back. The White House using words like comeback. Comeback. People love comeback stories. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Make them then say, no, America isn't come back to anything. America's still bad. America sucks. Make them say it. Let's make the progressives say that. Make them do it, though, not directly with you. Don't take the bait. Be above it. You're winning. Acquittal tomorrow, and then the victory lap. That's my roadmap. All right, I'm sitting in on the Savage Nation for Dr. Michael Savage. Dom Giordano with you on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, author of A Savage Life, Michael Savage.
Hey, that's right. It is the Savage Nation. My name is Dom Giordano, pinch hitting out of Philadelphia. Dom, D-O-M, sitting in for Dr. Michael, who will be back tomorrow to break down the State of the Union and other things. I want to talk about that, kind of preview it, and the progressives' vision of America versus what President Trump is going to do tonight, and I hope he sticks to it. And also, I want to play you something I've had a lot of fun with in Philadelphia that shows this difference. It's CBS this morning using pies in Iowa to urge Americans to support a wealth tax. You know, the pie test? And then I'll give you a chance. Several of my listeners punctured it well of what you say when they do the pie stuff about income inequality. Meanwhile, Michael Bloomberg is sitting out there on who knows how many tens of billions. All right, so Wall Street Journal breaks it down, what my point going into the State of the Union in a column, was this today? Yeah, William McGurn is one of their top editors. A relentlessly optimistic State of the Union is what's promised tonight. That's what the White House says they'll do, and he concurs that's the way to go. All right? And he says that libertarian Nick Gillespie, no fan of Mr. Trump, summed up what he's been hearing in the Democratic debates. Listening to these candidates last night, I mostly didn't recognize the country they were describing, meaning the progressives. They live in a world where dark, shadowy forces, billionaires, corporations, Russian operatives especially, conspire with near-perfect success to make all of us poorer and sadder, dumber and sicker, more alienated and hopeless. Then he says, Jean Kirkpatrick, remember her? Ronald Reagan, the UN ambassador, once said, this is a great line. Let me see if I can say it slowly. Americans need to face the truth about themselves, no matter how pleasant it is. Not no matter how unpleasant it is, but no matter how pleasant it is. In other words, Democrats can't face that because it doesn't give them any power with progressives. If things are going well, if the country at its foundations and its root is a generous, great country, why do we need them? To what? Intervene like Bloomberg and our big gulps? Or Bernie to screw up the healthcare system even more? Or Pocahontas to do whatever she's planning to do to go after the rich? Americans have to look in the mirror and face the truth about themselves, no matter how pleasant it is. And it is, and becoming increasingly more pleasant. All right, so this brings us to one of their big issues, income inequality. And I'll let you at 855-400-7282 respond to this. I'll give you Elizabeth Warren's response. She's the queen of this stuff. Prior to saying some of the stuff I thought my listeners thought that really punctures this. They seem to think the American people are dopes. So they send this CBS correspondent who's on with Gayle King to Iowa over the weekend. And he puts out these pies. And he's talking about, in this segment, you're going to hear how much the rich make. And he has a tagline here: no one came even close. I think it's 10 pieces of pie. I don't know. I don't get 10 out of a pie at Giordano Hacienda. I get 8 maybe. I cut bigger pieces. Give him a bigger piece. He cuts it into 10, I believe. And watch how it plays out. His theory is, if Americans just ate enough pie and we put the rich part of the pie and took it away from them, and they only got what the middle class gets, and they had some rich guy there slurping down that blueberry or apple. I think he brings an apple pie. They would learn pretty quickly how out of whack things are in America. And then they would vote to go after these people and stop them from robbing them of pies and everything else. So listen to how he sets it up. This is a segment recently from CBS This Morning. And then they catch up with Elizabeth Warren out there in Iowa, and we'll give you her response, then we'll get yours. Here's how it sounded.
The topic may be everywhere on the campaign trail.
You want to talk about wealth inequality in America?
Not really.
But off it, not so much.
Hey, you want to talk about wealth inequality? Oh, another time. We'll catch you later.
So,
we got some free pie here. Free pie?
We turned America's economic pie into a real one.
This is the American pie.
And found a lot more people willing to address a simple question. Who gets what?
We have 5 plates.
Alrighty.
This represents everybody in America.
Okay.
So you've got your wealthiest 20% all the way down to your poorest 20%. And that is the American pie.
The pie itself represents about $98 trillion of household wealth in America. We asked people to dole it out as accurately as possible.
I guess start off with 2 slices.
On the wealthiest?
Here?
Okay.
Yeah.
How many pieces of the pie would you put on the middle class?
Put 4.
4. All right. That's the middle class.
Let's do half a piece to the poorest.
Like right in the middle there?
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
So we're going to have to move some of the wealthiest to the lower class.
How much?
2 pieces.
To the lower middle?
Lower middle class.
Okay. So can I show you what reality looks like?
Not like this, obviously.
Unfortunately not.
No one was even close.
So it's actually 9 pieces of pie.
Wow.
Yeah. 90% of the wealth is right here in the top.
That's terrible.
Now, the upper middle class and the middle class, they share 1 piece. So these guys, they've got about 80% of a piece. They get 20% of a piece. And then the lower middle class, they've got 0.3% of a piece. Yeah, they have some crumbs there. There you go. That's what they get. And the poorest, they have no pie. In fact, they have less than no pie. They actually have a bill for pie. They're in pie debt. They owe pie.
Okay, now, brilliant. Oh, my God, they have us backed in. Come on now, you got to help me out. I don't know what I'm going to do. I painted myself if we got this guy on. Oh, little editor's note here on the Savage Nation with Dom Giordano. My producer looked up this journalist. He's worth about, according to several websites, about $4 million. And we guesstimate he's making high 6 figures, maybe more. Gee, wonder how much of the pie he's getting. He's taking an awful big piece, isn't he? Why should he have a net worth of 4 going on $5 million? That doesn't seem right. Here's Elizabeth Warren. The same guy catches up with him in Iowa and asked her about this pie thing, and here's what she said.
As Democrats vying for the White House crisscrossed Iowa, so did we.
Women win. Let's get this done.
First stop, an overflowing rally for Senator Elizabeth Warren. We spoke with her backstage about how the economic pie is distributed.
We got some free pie here. Free pie?
An issue we covered last week with a real pie.
How many pieces of the pie would you put on the middle class?
You had it exactly right. You showed how it is that the wealthy have so much pie. When I do a wealth tax, it's not to hand out money, it's to make the investments.
How do you like your chances?
Oh, I like them.
All right. So what is our rebuttal to this? Well, one rebuttal, you just heard Elizabeth Warren give you a clue. You're not getting more of that pie, at least not directly. You're sitting there. You're hungry after dinner. You want some dessert. Oh, no. This is investment in your future so that someday in retirement you'll have pie. Yeah, but I want pie now. No pie for you. Go do pi r squared or something, 3.1416, whatever it is. Go do that. Do some math. You're not getting any pie now. We're investing this pie. It's government pie. That's who's taking up a lot of this pie. Oh, well, that's good for me. I like government pie. Well, we're not going to give you pie. It's bad for you, really. We're going to give you whatever the government cheese. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get a lot of it. You can get government cheese. It's better for you than the pie. Investments. What's the other way to rebut this stuff? Can you imagine this stunt? This is a national organization putting this out, traveling around the state to pitch this idea as I understand it. If we just get enough Americans to look at pie and stop Donald Trump from making them not look at pie by some magic trick, they'll get it. There's something out of whack. And we need Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders or, well, maybe not Bloomberg. We need them to come riding to the rescue so we get more pie. That's what it comes down to. Now, I say let them. I gave you one part of this, the government part. But my listeners punctured it with several. I'll give you a couple more coming up, but I'd like to hear you. How would you puncture this? There are at least two more great rebuttals that people would understand, I think, with this nonsense. But the argument seems to be here, this is the bad America. Now, this comes back to the State of the Union again. That's the point I'm making. Tonight, Trump, optimistic, the America that he knows. And by doing that, he's calling them out. All they have is doom, gloom, Russians, pies, and everything else. I mean, Elizabeth Warren has said the first test for her Secretary of Education will be some 9-year-old transgendered, I think I'm using the proper term, kid, to make the decision on this. Got to be able to appeal to him. If that kid sniffs out this person's not sensitive, they're not going to be Secretary of Education. Even called out by Bill Maher and others, even Chris Matthews. So here are the phone lines. 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-7282. That gets you in. How would you rebut it, or do you agree with it and say, yes, if Americans just see the pie, then progressives will win every time. It makes sense. Why do these people have that kind of money? Now, of course, you can point to, well, why does Bloomberg have it? Well, he's a good guy. He doesn't want to. He's using his money, though. For what? To gain more power and to dictate big gulps and all that to more people. You're not getting pie with Bloomberg. It's bad for you. Why is it they believe this stuff? Because this is their only route to power. Here is, in fact, Project Veritas. The O'Keefe guy, you know, the guy that does all this undercover stuff. He got with an Elizabeth Warren leader or staffer, and the staffer slams her far left woke incorporated, being woke. Veritas. Here's the dissent among the Warren campaign. Now, it's a little bit muddied, you know, because of getting this secretly and the whole deal. Listen to what this Warren staffer says about all this nonsense versus how are you going to open up and create jobs. Here's what he said.
People on her staff believe her pandering is all wrong.
But at the end of the day, if we prioritize like pronouns over making sure people have a decent standard of living, that's wrong.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's like when you come from where I come from, no one gives a about the goddamn pronoun. People want to know how you're going to create a job. So I'm here for the pronoun thing, so I just feel like I shouldn't have to say he, him, his. Shouldn't it just be implied?
Right.
I tell you otherwise.
Yeah, if I tell you otherwise, then yeah. But I mean,
I've been called out for saying something like that, but it's like this is why we lose elections because we're zeroing in on like that.
Yeah, it's about why are we concentrating on this? We're getting killed here about creating a job or jobs. That's what people want to hear. President going to address health care tonight. I'm not sure what he's going to say on that. I haven't gotten any more on that. So how do you rebut this image of America, and particularly the income inequality and the pie? There's at least a couple of other ways to do it. Here's how you get in. 855-400-SAVAGE.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
To This is the Savage Nation. Welcome in, everyone. Dom Giordano is sitting in for Dr. Michael today. He'll be back tomorrow, but you can follow at michaelsavage.com, latest headlines, and download the Savage podcast. All righty, 855-400-7282. Tonight, the president, unrelenting optimism. The White House put that out, I guess, earlier today. And that vision of America, and having fun with it, being joyful, that's the type of thing to go with. Tomorrow is the victory lap about impeachment and the acquittal. And get those 2 or 3 Democrats who are persuadable and might say, no, we're not going to remove the president over this. We don't buy this. That's where the prize is. That is the prize. All right, let's go to Eric in Connecticut with Dom Giordano. Hey, Eric, welcome in.
Hey, how you doing, my friend?
Very good.
First time caller.
Thank you very much.
Basically, I like that idea. And if President Trump can stay on point with that and push the optimism and to basically just emphasize his myriad accomplishments, cast vision for the next few months and for the next few years, should we give him another 4 years, I think that's going to go a long way, because by not mentioning the impeachment, I think it's going to speak a lot louder than for him to mention it. Because I agree with you. Unless something unforeseen happens, tomorrow's a foregone conclusion, because let's be honest, they didn't meet the prima facie case for impeachment at all.
Right. And if he doesn't bring it up tonight, it gives cover to those 2 or 3 Democrats. They're golden, Eric. If they come out, the media's got to report it, sort of bipartisan. You got 2 or 3 Democrats who wouldn't remove also.
Absolutely. I think if he goes that route, if he pushes the optimism, if the guy who shows up is the same guy who delivered that speech about the Mideast peace plan.
Yes, that's a very good. That is a very, very good analogy. Thanks for that first-time call, Eric. Good stuff. Yes, that is exactly the guy that you want tonight. I know there'll be tension there, but you can stare them down, too, without bringing it up. You can stare the Schiff man down and Nancy Pelosi and all that stuff. Trump knows how to do that. And then tomorrow, bang. Tomorrow is the victory lap. Tomorrow is acquittal for all time, just like they say impeachment for all time. And this plays well. Tonight is about a vision of America that progressives reject. They reject it now. They reject our past, and they reject our future. That's all that they have to offer up. More and more government is the only salvation, not turning loose the American people. Ronald Reagan got that. Trump is optimistic, too. Show it tonight. Be Reagan-esque. Use it in the people he's going to introduce, in the gallery with Melania and all that. Do not go.
To 469-0286 on Talk Radio 560 KSFO.
Michael Savage, the Savage Nation with Dom Giordano pinch hitting for Dr. Savage today. And I just saw this came down on one website that apparently now they're getting it together. Partial results will be released at about 4:45 Eastern, right here in the Savage Nation. If it happens, we'll bring it to you in Iowa of what's happened here. Now, here's the point I haven't made. Dom Giordano again, DOM, sitting in for Dr. Savage, and we'd love to hear from you. Tonight's State of the Union. Trump thrives on chaos, and that's exactly what we're seeing coming out of Iowa. So it's helped him big time. I think I mentioned some point during the show today, he set a record for an incumbent president with 30,000 caucus goers for President Trump. It's unbelievable. Previous record was for an incumbent president, President Obama, with 25,000. But Democratic enthusiasm really down. If you go back 4 years, what the Iowa Democratic Party has said, that's the same exact turnout as they got. That's not particularly good. It's not as strong as in 2008. There was supposed to be incredible excitement. All these candidates, all the anti-Trump stuff, they didn't get it. These results now are creating chaos, as I said. They are probably stopping a victory lap, I believe, for Bernie Sanders, because Tuesday now, wow, we're just a week away from New Hampshire, right on top of this. Possibly Mayor Pete, a victory lap. I don't think he won, but a big victory lap, he might be pretty close. And it keeps Democrats from getting more clarity on Joe Biden. Joe Biden still don't walking around as if he's the front runner, at least on paper, because you don't know yet. And it opened up a new avenue attack for the president, which is, look at these people, look at how messed up this is. That's the Democrat Party. And it opened up ground for Bloomberg, who's out there in a few states down the road spending $1 billion, maybe, who knows, at least hundreds of millions at this point. So we're waiting to see that result come down. As soon as it does, we'll tell you what the result indicates. I think it's going to say Bernie has won, and Pete, the Mayor Pete, has done reasonably well there, maybe even pretty close, and that Joe Biden tanked. Elizabeth Warren in third, Klobuchar maybe didn't do as well as they thought either. All this matters, and it is chaotic. And President Trump creates creative chaos. Well, here they're creating it for him. So what he has to do tonight in the State of the Union is not only talk about his accomplishments, but connect the dots with his accomplishments, believing in Americans, make America great again. And that's a contrast to the progressive vision of America. It never has been that great. The only way it ever will be anywhere near great, and even that they're not going to say, is if you put into play all these schemes, all these government intrusive centric things up and down the line. And even then, it won't be great. We're never really going to say it's great. Bernie's not. Any number of the others are not. But at least it'll be a little bit better. So that's the playing field as we face this. There'll be plenty of time tomorrow. I know it would be great theater. People would love it probably to have a face-off with Nancy Pelosi tonight. She'll do some of the shenanigans like reaching over the box and, doing that fake clap that she did with the president. I know it's tough to suck it up. But tonight you win with accomplishments and relentless optimism. You're not optimistic about America. You're not. Some of you even want it to fail, let alone be optimistic about the greatness that's there if you get out of the way. And then tomorrow, hopefully, 2 or 3 Democrat senators say we cannot remove the president. And then you really take the victory lap on Twitter and maybe do a news conference, whatever you want to do. That puts the marker in. The country shouldn't have gone through this. It's over. I've been accomplishing all these things throughout this, but now I have to tell you what this has been like and what they've tried to do here. Meanwhile, they're trying to get out of this chaos coming out of Iowa. By the way, throughout the show, we've been telling you that the group that was coordinating the app has deep associations, this Shadow Incorporated, according to several reports, with the Democrat establishment. You know what that means. They're trying to take out Bernie. That's what the argument is. He's not going to be stopped that easily this time. Last time it was hard to stop him. He's going to keep on. This is going to go through the convention. It's going to be Bernie versus Bloomberg. I thought it would be Warren at one point. I'm not seeing that now. Bernie's got the wind at his back. Joe Biden, he'll get to South Carolina. That'll be the last hope. And he might even win. He might eke it out, but I don't think that's going to be enough. He doesn't have money. Can't stay on message. There is no message. God only knows what he's doing. And then it's scorched earth, Bernie versus Bloomberg. Wild stuff. Bloomberg's right down the road from me here in Philadelphia at the Constitution Center. It's a great space if you're ever in Philadelphia, right here in our historical area. But this guy ought to read the overall theory of the Founding Fathers. You think the Founding Fathers would want to tell people about the glass of rum or the whiskey or the beer or whatever? I don't think they were into that as this guy is with the big gulp. You think they'd be going around, and Bloomberg back then, that's too much mutton for you. I don't like the salt in that pork. You know, they had to use salt sort of as something to keep something fresh. What would Bloomberg do with that? Just picture him walking around. I don't think you get too far then. Does America still have any of that spirit? We're going to see. Because he's a player because of the money. And because they're searching for somebody. That's why this is important to see how Mayor Pete did. Because Mayor Pete, they see, is operating in that moderate lane, even though he's a radical, too, by any normal standard. But he's a threat. If he won, even though this is muddled and chaotic, they're calling him Mayor Cheat because he apparently has some connection to the app people. So you see where this is leading, right into the hands of President Trump. All he has to do tonight is to be a bit entertaining, to take a victory lap of optimism, looking forward to the future, connecting to Americans, talking about these accomplishments, and saying, you know, as a backstory, they came during a period of crisis here with all this stuff that was going on. You can stare them down. Do not mention impeachment. Do not make your case on that. Tomorrow, it's not that long. It's not even 24 hours. After tonight, count down the hours, you'll have your victory lap. Then you can go to town on this. Then it rallies. Now, the last time I was on, the last time I was on, I told you about how much excitement we had in Philadelphia with the Wildwood rally. And it was incredibly exciting. I mean, I interviewed all kinds of people in the heart of one of the bluest states, Wildwood, New Jersey. People sleeping out 50 hours, 48 hours. Now, the numbers didn't reach 150,000, anything like that, but they were big. And people knew it was a small spot with only 5,000 or 6,000 real seats to get in. And yet, many of them, it was over 24 hours waiting for that. You don't see that with anyone else. There have been other people that have drawn pretty big crowds. They were talking about a Bernie crowd of 3,000 people. Yeah, but that's not 20,000 or 30,000 waiting outside in January right there near the beach. That's historic. We haven't seen anything like that. And the enthusiasm level, because I was inside this, was unbelievable. People that wanted to get close, to fill up the bowl in front of Trump there in Wildwood. Thousands of them standing for 2 or 3 hours once they got in after they were outside for 24 hours to be closer. It was amazing stuff. It was amazing to see that up close. You know, when he was running in 2016, I was one who counseled, look, you can't just tell by these rallies. They're not the total tell. We don't know what they mean. But then when they started to be rally after rally after rally and continue, I think the Trump base and the Democrat base is not as enthused as I thought they would be in Iowa. These numbers, only 35% were first-time people in the caucus. They only had 170,000. That's not great. Not great at all. And after this debacle, their level of enthusiasm is going to be dampened even more. They're not going to want to settle for, they were promised Bernie Sanders. I don't think they're going to want to settle for a Bloomberg when that comes up. I just can't see that happening. All right, phone lines to get in with me, 855-400-7282. 855-400-SAVAGE will get you on board. What do you want to see in the State of the Union tonight? And as I said, we may get the results from Iowa. If we do, we'll give them to you now. If I had to predict anything, I think Bernie Sanders wins. And I think that Mayor Pete could be a pretty good runner-up. If that happens, that's big news with Joe Biden. Hurts him tremendously. And it also propels Bloomberg into the conversation. That's what's going to happen out of this. Chaos. That's what we're seeing. And realize, these apparently will only be the partial results. They can't even get the full results. How many hours after the caucus stopped and the alignments and all that stuff? Look, this is a quaint idea. I spoke to someone the day before the show because I've been there to see it. And I guess, yeah, it's interesting to see people making arguments and citizenship in action. I just don't know that Iowa, and I'm not saying flyover country, we just want to be on the coastal elites or anything. What I'm saying is, though, maybe there's other places in the heartland or someplace like that that are better representations of this. All this intensity into Iowa. Is that the state that really represents people that are going to win a national election necessarily? Is that the best barometer of this? So if you want to keep your caucus, okay, but you have to do it right. You can't screw up like this. You can't have everybody wait. And this just throws into the idea of conspiracy and everything else. Now, it does help Trump this time around, and he's pounced on it, saying, how can these people run a simple caucus? You know, you caucus, you get the numbers, you call them in, you send them in somehow or another, they add them up, and then we have a winner. Right? Pretty simple stuff. Instead, this is like a participation trophy. Everybody gets a ribbon. And that's where we are. That's what they're claiming at this point. So if we get those results, we'll let you know so that you know exactly what happened here. The bottom line, though, is all this bleeding into the State of the Union. Think about how these people look. Think about how, there's a hashtag here to get rid of Tom Perez, the head of the DNC. Conspiracy, trying to stop Bernie, all those things. Think about how they look, and think about how look on the most dramatic stage possible, I think, for a president. Other than, I guess, if there's a warlike situation going on. That is the State of the Union. Coming into it, there's only one president, staring down these people, everybody there. Oh, AOC is boycotting tonight. Just wanted you to know if you were keeping score at home. And Democrat women are wearing white again in support of women, and the rhinos and the Democrats who are with them are wearing purple ties to say they're problem solvers. They're not like the rest of these two parties. Yep, that's all playing out tonight. No word on what Trump is wearing or Bernie Sanders or any. I'm not even sure if they're going to be there. All right, phone lines are easy. You get in right now. 855-400-SAVAGE. Dom Giordano sitting in for Dr. Michael Savage.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now. 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
It's the Savage Nation. My name is Dom Giordano from Talk Radio 1210 in Philadelphia sitting in. Here's a little nugget to store away. The Democratic Party in Iowa declined an offer from the Department of Homeland Security to vet the app that failed during the state's caucuses. The results are still unknown, and they're not giving them up till 5 o'clock now. Partial results. We don't even know what partial means. My goodness. Chad Wolf, who is the acting Homeland Secretary, said that on Fox and Friends. Ohio Democrats refused when the department's cybersecurity infrastructure offered to test the app. We had offered to test the app from a hacking perspective. They said, no, we don't see any malicious cyber activity going on. No one hacked into it. So what the heck happened here? Well, they can't blame Trump on this one yet. We don't know at 5 o'clock. Can they blame the Russians? You can always throw that out there. How about climate change? How about climate? By tomorrow, are we going to hear any of that? This is a huge debacle. It allows Trump, I'm sure they're putting into the State of the Union, we know how to run things. Doesn't have to say you don't. Everybody gets it. Accomplishments. How to run an organization, how to help get out of the way of the economy, how to make it a good playing field for the economy to operate, how to push back against foreign governments. All that tonight. Relentless optimism. Sunny, smiling Trump. Yeah, maybe, some jab that's not direct here and there. And then tomorrow, not even in the space of 24 hours. Acquittal. 2 or 3 Democrats sign on, and we're off to the races, and we're off in New Hampshire, and ultimately Biden limping along, Bernie selling conspiracy, and probably right, and Bloomberg lurking out there. I may see him tonight. I may go and take a look. He's right down the road from me. He's 2 blocks away in about an hour. If I do, I'll report the next time I happen to sit in for Dr. Michael Savage. Until then, though, Dr. Michael Savage back tomorrow here in the Savage Nation. You can check him out between now and then. Just go to the website, michaelsavage.com, for the latest headlines and to download the Savage podcast. And on Twitter, at @ASavageNation, at @ASavageNation. It's always an honor sitting in for him, particularly on a day of consequence like this, the Iowa debacle, the State of the Union. Tomorrow, the final end to this long national nightmare. What will Adam Schiff be doing with his afternoons now? I'm sure he'll find something. I mean, he just said yesterday that Trump might want to give Alaska to the Russians now. Great staff helping me here today. Thanks very much. Thanks to Dr. Michael Savage, too, for having me. My name is Dom Giordano. Follow me on Twitter at DomShow1210. Happy to be sitting in here on the Savage Nation.